Good afternoon and welcome to the News Roundup for Friday, September 26, 2025. I'm Bill Thomas, and here's what's happening right now. Dems on the run. Democrats are worried about a possible third Trump term in 2028. A helping hand, Russia giving China a big leg up as they prepare for a military invasion of Taiwan. And the art of the deal, President Trump boasting that an agreement has finally been reached to end the war in Gaza and bring peace to the Middle East. Also, the Justice Department accuses a former FBI director of lying under oath. And nerd alert, they're officially adding thousands of new words to the dictionary, but they left out the number one most important new word ever invented. All this and so much more coming up right now on the Big Roundup. We kick things off today with growing concerns among some Democrats that President Trump will indeed choose to run for a third term in the 2028 election. In case you're not aware, the president has often kicked around the idea of breaking with precedent and tossing his hat into the ring once again, despite our nation's constitutional limit of 2 terms, which currently prohibits his re-election. Now, prompted by Trump's extraordinary success during his first 8 months back in the White House, a number of Democrats are becoming troubled by the prospect that he'll somehow figure out a way to run for our nation's highest office again. They're led by California Governor Gavin Newsom, who says that he's now actually afraid that there won't even be an election in 2028 unless our country wakes up to the ruinous path that Trump is leading us down. Yeah, you know that path: economic prosperity, fixing the border, ending wars, and all the rest. Newsom blames the president for taking a number of authoritarian actions since he returned to the White House, including by ignoring due process during his administration's crackdown on illegal immigration and by pushing for a bunch of redistricting efforts in order to preserve the GOP's razor-thin congressional majority. Newsom also claims that the president's team has already sent him nearly 24 Trump 2028 hats, signaling that the commander-in-chief is very serious about sticking around for as long as he can. Or maybe he's just having fun tormenting Gavin Newsom. Meanwhile, the president himself has suggested a number of ways in which he could potentially retain his current post legally, including by having J.D. Vance, Vice President Vance, run for office before handing Trump the role. I think I kind of like that. However, the president also saying that as of right now, he's not planning to stick around for another term, even though tons of people want him to, and that if he decides not to run again, the MAGA movement, it's in good hands with his likely heir, Vice President Vance. Final thought, and this is the News Roundup Lowdown. To begin with, there will absolutely be an election in 2028. Yeah, Vice President J.D. Vance will be the Republican candidate, and just like his predecessor, he'll win both the popular vote and the electoral vote. Now, for California's ne'er-do-well governor to begin whining this early in the game clearly indicates that he understands all too well that his party cannot compete. They have no legitimate frontrunner, not him for sure, no cohesive messaging, and no clear path forward for the USA and the world. So, all this moaning and grumbling is being done so that Newsom can make his name and his presidential aspirations well known to the entire country. Now, because I'm a patriot, I also want people to know about Brother Gavin. And here's what they're saying about the state which he governs, my state, California. The highest cost of living in the continental U.S., a vanishing middle class, crime, drugs, occasional riots, unaffordable housing, and some of the highest gas prices in the country. I just paid $4.50 a gallon. The Golden State has a massive homeless population, violent gangs, and check out the great job California does with education. The K-12 system ranked 37th nationwide, they say. I give that about a D-plus grade. But wait, yeah, there's more. An unreliable supply of water, an unreliable and unaffordable supply of energy, perennial out-of-control forest fires, and just a couple of months ago, massive ones here in the L.A. area earlier this year, leaving behind death and destruction. We had the Palisades fire, the Eaton fires, and a bunch of additional blazes. California is also one of the most unfriendly states in the country to do business in, with Hollywood and a bunch of other industries simply bailing out. In fact, they say Canada is becoming the new Hollywood. All the productions going north of the border. Now, if this guy's resume sounds good to you, maybe he'll get your vote. Drop us an email. Let us know what you're thinking. And we're at newsroundupwithbill@gmail.com. Now, producer Davey, he's scoping out the emails, which are pouring in. Good afternoon, Davey. And who's up first? Does somebody actually want this guy to be the president?
Oh, hey, Bill. We got lots of people checking in today. Here's one from Link in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Hiya, Link. What's on your mind?
Link says, I can't believe this guy Newsom hasn't already been impeached. He's totally incompetent as a governor, and I dread to think what damage he'd do if he got hold of our country.
Hey, absolutely. This guy has done more to botch up his state, my state, than any other California governor who came before him. Some of the state, it's still kind of pristine. I go up and down the state on a regular basis, but large portions of California, filthy, crime-riddled, dangerous, and disgusting. A vote for Newsom means he'll be able to do for the entire country what he's done for California. Maybe he can get the honorable AOC to be his running mate, just thinking out loud. You know, we've had good governors in the past year in California. Governor Reagan, who later became the president of the United States of America. Pete Wilson was a terrific governor. Deukmejian, Schwarzenegger as well, all did a great job. The Democrats, when they take over, they kind of mess things up. We had Jerry Brown, Gray Davis, and this guy, gruesome Newsom. President? Not a chance. Davey, one more and then we'll press ahead.
Okay, Bill, here's a bit of a different view coming to us from Tina in Athens, Georgia.
Hello, Tina.
She says anybody would be better than a Trump third term, but Newsom is spectacular. He's the only one with the guts to tell it like it is.
Well, if you watch very carefully, if you take a look, maybe read a little bit and see what's happened to the state of California under his expert tutelage, and if that's what you want for the entire country, that's your guy for the job. On the other hand, look at J.D. Vance. He's being prepped for the job. He's been expertly tutored by President Trump. He will be the candidate in 2028, and I guarantee, hands down, he will win. He will be our next president. Mark my words, save this program, come back to it, and you'll see I was right. Change things up just a bit now. Turn our attention to some alarming news concerning the growing military ties between Russia and China, who are now apparently teaming up and taking concrete steps to invade Taiwan. This is a big deal. A British defense group now saying that Russia is in the process of selling a bunch of military equipment and cutting-edge technology to China, which could actually help Beijing prepare to take Taiwan by air. The group's analysis is based on hundreds of pages of sales documents, which were recently revealed by a secret hacktivist organization that's dedicated to opposing governments with aggressive foreign policies. These documents refer to a number of secret meetings between Russian and Chinese officials, and they also list payment schedules and specific delivery times for a variety of high-tech weaponry, including high-altitude parachute systems and dozens of different amphibious assault vehicles, which the analysts claim could be specifically used to attack Taiwan. Experts say that for China, the greatest value of the overall deal is the parachute training they'll receive from Russia, which has extensive combat experience using equipment. They also claim that Russia's ultimate goal is to become a steady military supplier to China so that Moscow can finance their ongoing war against Ukraine. Additionally, they suggest that Russia might be looking to pit China and the U.S. against each other in Taiwan in order to draw our attention away from the fighting in Ukraine. Now, according to U.S. officials, China's President Xi Jinping has ordered his military to prepare to invade Taiwan as early as 2027, just around the corner. China also openly seeking to transform their entire armed forces into a world-class military by 2050. Well, not too worried about that. That's a quarter of a century away. Final thought, and this is the News Roundup Lowdown. You know, it's a convoluted world where China holds state functions and plays host to communist dictators, Vladimir Putin, for example, while funding Russia's war machine with their massive oil purchases and more. And now because it's never enough, Russia is profiting even more from China by selling war toys to a fellow dictator, Xi Jinping, and China now reportedly putting in place a game plan to take Taiwan. Look, just stop, look around, listen. All the indicators, they're right there. It's no secret that China has long pushed for what they call a reunification with Taiwan, a long-standing political goal for China, which views the island as a breakaway province. Now, reunification sounds mildly ambiguous, not overly threatening, but with China making cozy with big-time warmongers in Russia, gunning up, training up, and, in my estimation, preparing for an invasion, Taiwan right now, and the whole world, should be on high alert. Look at the big picture. It's overwhelming. China is aiding Russia in their war. Russia will gladly do the same if China moves on Taiwan. And there's no doubt in my mind that North Korea's Kim Jong-un will be a willing participant the moment he's called upon. Finally, Taiwan, if we have a map, it's a small island nation right off the eastern coast of China. Look how massive China is. Look how small Taiwan is. Now, Taiwan has a strong, well-fortified military, but in my estimation, they are by no means able to defend themselves long-term effectively from China. And really, it's all just kind of a chess game. Just like Russia doesn't need Ukraine, China really doesn't need Taiwan. Your thoughts and your comments always welcome. You'll find us at newsroundupwithbill@gmail.com. Davey, another hot topic, and what are folks saying today?
Yeah, Bill, this is a really big deal, actually.
It is, yeah.
Here's a message from Boris in Brighton Beach, New York.
Afternoon, Boris. Welcome to the program.
Boris says, when will people get it through their thick skulls? China and Russia are our enemies, and they're working together to bring us down. Cut them off now.
It's not just China and Russia. It's China and Russia and North Korea and Iran and a bunch of other countries as well. And something we've talked about on the program in the past, there is this new world order. It's forming right in front of our very eyes, and we've got to take action quickly. We've got to stop this before it gets more and more out of control. Boris, I appreciate you checking in. You're spot on. And Davey, who's up next?
Okay, Bill, here's one from Peggy in your neck of the woods, San Gabriel Valley, California.
Very good. Peggy, welcome to the program. We are neighbors.
Peggy says, if it walks like a duck and squawks like a duck, it's not a kitten. China's going to go for Taiwan, no doubt about it. And unless we do something soon, we ain't going to stop them.
Yeah, they're even admitting that. They're saying 2027, they will invade Taiwan at or before 2027. Unfortunately for Taiwan, I don't believe the Trump administration will be assisting with boots on the ground if or when Taiwan is invaded. There may be other support offered in terms of economic or military support, but to my knowledge, there will be no boots on the ground. This will be a tough road ahead for Taiwan. And we'll switch things up just a bit now, turn our sights to some positive breaking news out of the Middle East. And President Trump now saying he's very confident that a deal has just been reached, which will finally bring to an end the devastating 2-year-long war in the Gaza Strip between Israel and Hamas. The president says he believes the agreement will result in a return of all the remaining hostages to Israel and the fighting once and for all and bring peace to the entire region. Earlier this week at the UN, President Trump met with a number of Arab leaders before unveiling a 21-point initiative designed to permanently end the Gaza war. The White House saying that during those meetings, everyone agreed that the president is the only one in the world who can get the job done, and he's getting it done. Trump's special Mideast envoy, Steve Witkoff, says the president's plan takes into consideration the Israeli point of view, as well as addressing the concerns of neighbors in the region. Even the leader of the Palestinian Authority, he's on board with the plan, saying his team is standing by to work with President Trump and all the other countries which are involved to help to implement the agreement in a way that leads to peace and cooperation throughout the entire Middle East. That Palestinian leader also saying his organization now preparing to completely take over operational control of Gaza, adding that it's time for Hamas to disarm and bust out. Some of the other countries rallying behind the agreement: Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Egypt, Turkey, and more. And final thoughts, this is the News Roundup Lowdown. The whole world wants Hamas's war with Israel to come to an end. And the Trump administration continues to do all it can to bring to a conclusion that nearly 2-year-long epic battle. The president's negotiating team, working around the clock, appears to have developed a game plan which leaves satisfied all those involved in this war. Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas appears to be in support of the new peace deal. And in case you missed it, Abbas has also confirmed that in the future, Hamas will have no role in governing Gaza. A reminder, and this should satisfy Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, something he's been demanding, and rightfully so: the return of all hostages, living and deceased. Israel will agree to no further attacks on Qatar. They'll talk shop with the Palestinians, and in time they will find a way to peacefully coexist. And the bottom line, this clearly sounds like the beginning of the end of a very tragic war. And drop us a note with your thoughts and your comments. We are at newsroundupwithbill@gmail.com. Hopefully everything pans out. David, this sounds like a really incredible time in our history.
Yeah, I hope it works out, Bill. Here's a message from Mike in Clearwater, though. Clearwater, Florida. He seems to disagree a little bit.
What you got, Mike?
Mike says this announcement about Gaza is a joke. It's more of the same nonsense and nothing ever gets done. If you're serious about peace, get rid of Hamas once and for all.
Well, we've tried to get rid of Hamas. The U.S. has tried to get rid of Hamas, as has Israel. Hamas is like a cockroach. You can stomp out a number of cockroaches, but behind every floorboard, there's a bunch more. This is at the very least, you have to acknowledge this, a substantial step forward. The president, all of our allies, everyone in the Middle East, all coming to the table. We've made substantial progress in a relatively short period of time. This is a war, by the way, just a reminder, it started on Biden's watch. And as I always say, a war that starts on Biden's watch is a war that will end on Trump's watch. Appreciate you checking in. Davey, who is next?
Okay, Bill, here's one from Vicky in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
What you got, Vicky? Talk to us.
She says, we need action, not words. If you want peace, Trump, call off your Israeli dogs and save some lives.
Well, they're not Israeli dogs. They're Israelis who are fighting for their very existence. Apparently, you missed a bit of the history. It was Hamas who attacked Israel. Israel has done nothing more than fight back. I've always said this about the president, by the way. The difficult, he'll do right now. The impossible is going to take a little while. Israel has a great friend in the Trump administration. Trump has done more than anyone on the planet to bring peace to that region. And now, full steam ahead on fixing Russia's war with Ukraine and hopefully stopping China from moving on Taiwan. Now, a couple of additional headlines we're keeping a very close watch on here in the News Roundup newsroom. Former FBI Director James Comey, you remember this guy, indicted on charges of making a false statement and obstruction in relation to his testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee, and that was back in 2020. President Trump urging the Justice Department to prosecute Comey for his involvement in the investigation into alleged Russian interference in the 2016 election. Comey claiming innocence and saying he looks forward to his day in court. Also, some encouraging news for fans of the bromance between President Trump and the world's richest man. You saw them recently shaking hands. The U.S. government inking a deal with the Elon Musk-owned company Grok AI to use the innovative technology inside a number of federal agencies. The administration scoring the tool for a bargain rate of 42 cents per agency, leading to speculation that the fractured relationship between the president and Musk is finally on the mend. You know, Davey, it's kind of like that 1975 song from the rock band Queen. Remember that song? You know the one I'm talking about?
No, Bill. What song are you talking about?
You're my best friend. How can you forget that song? Big hit all those years ago. Also in health news, a stubborn new COVID strain now picking up steam right here in the U.S. And the CDC saying that a highly infectious variant known as XFG, they always come up with these goofy names, XFG or Stratus, it's spreading rapidly throughout a number of states, and that right now it's the predominant strain in the country. Also turning to the world of business and a quick peek at a couple of stories which are currently making headlines in finance, in commerce, and more. This might affect your bottom line. Pay close attention. Another enormous win for the Trump administration. Turkish Airlines announcing plans to, check this out, buy 225 aircraft from the Boeing company, and not little tiny 172s, big giant aircraft. The enormous announcement coming just a day after a critical meeting between President Trump and Turkey's leader in the Oval Office at the White House. This is going to pour billions and billions into the economy right here and create tons of jobs. Also, more transportation-related news to share with you. British automaker Jaguar Land Rover revealing that the recent devastating cyber attack, which has entirely crippled their manufacturing operations, could eventually add up to nearly $5 billion in lost revenue for the company, saying they're not planning to open up their factories again until sometime next month at the very earliest. So for now, Davey, I guess you and I, if we need a new car, it's a new Kia or a Chevy. Also in the world of technology, the former CEO of Google sounding the alarm about our nation's ability to effectively compete with China, saying that while Chinese tech companies make their employees work 12-hour days, 6 days a week, many people here stateside, they're lounging. Too many folks working from home. And if we want to be competitive, something better change and rapidly. And now it is time for the lighter side of news, where we take a clever look at a couple of outrageous stories guaranteed to make you shake your head in utter disbelief. Can you see me shaking my head right now, Davey, in utter disbelief? This is the face of disbelief.
Yeah. Can you shake it even faster, Bill?
Oh, just like that.
Yeah,
All right, kick things off today. We'll kick things off today with a Tesla fan trying to see if he could use the electric vehicle's autonomous driving system to cruise from the end of the country to the other end of the country. And spoiler alert, this one didn't pan out too well. A guy who calls himself Bearded Tesla Guy says that he and a friend set out from San Diego in their nearly new Model Y with the car's supervised self-driving system leading the charge, hoping they'd glide across the entire U.S. without lifting a finger. However, about an hour into the trip, the car hit a metal guardrail while they were cruising at 75 miles per hour, and that left the ride, as you can imagine, in a world of hurt. Eventually, they hobbled their way to a garage in Tucson, Arizona, receiving a shocking repair bill to the tune of more than $22,000, including $17,000 for a damaged high-voltage battery, which, when all was said and done, fortunately, Tesla wound up paying for free. So they got off kind of easy the way I see it. You know, the bad news is that they didn't exactly make it all the way from one side of the country to the other, but give those knuckleheads some credit. They flipped the switch on the Tesla autopilot. They made an impressive 60-mile journey before ending in complete disaster. Hey, here's the deal. For tons and tons of years, cars, trucks, everything else, they've been made with accelerator pedals, brake pedals, and steering wheels for a real good reason, for going, stopping, and steering. As the driver, that's your job, not Elon Musk's. And autopilot switches should be confined to Boeing 747 aircraft, not for cars, trucks, buses, and everything else. Do your job and drive your ride. All right, moving along, and some exciting news in the world of dictionarying. Yes, dictionarying. It's a real word. Look it up in your dictionary. And here's what's going on. Merriam-Webster adding more than 5,000 new words to the latest edition of their world-famous collegiate dictionary. And among those new entries, words like dumb phones, dash cam, beast mode, and even doom scroll, whatever doom scroll is. If you don't know what any of those words actually means, I guess you'll have to kind of look it up in that new dictionary. Company says they're actually publishing a hardback edition of their collegiate dictionary for the first time in more than 2 decades, and that in order to fill in all the new entries, they've had to cut out a number of outdated words we no longer use, as well as a chunk of biographical and geographical information, which no one uses anymore as well. In the meantime, they say that even though overall sales of the 5-pound book are trending downward, they plan to keep on printing them out simply because there are tons of people in the world who still love books. Now, Producer Davey, I'm more of a computer guy. I've heard of the word. Which one is the book? Is that the one with the all the pages in the middle and the 2 things at both sides?
Come on, Bill. There are lots of people books, they've got covers, they got pages inside. A lot of people read books, Bill, still.
All right. I thought it was all computers now. I haven't seen a book in a long time. For a company as well regarded as Merriam-Webster to go all the time, take all that time, effort, and trouble to publish a new dictionary with as many as 5,000 new words, and then go on to leave out the most important new word in the world, that's nothing short of criminal, and I am officially demanding a change to the dictionary. Davey, they left out the big word, the most important word, which is, and I hope you're going to write this down, podcastologist. And as a board-certified podcastologist, I demand justice. I want that in the dictionary. Now, Producer Davey, I know you know people. You got the Rolodex. I need you to make the call, affect the change, and until the big fix is in, moving forward, I'll be telling all of my friends to look everything up in their funk and wagnalls. And that is a wrap on the Friday edition of the Big News Roundup. And as the week comes to a close, if there's anything on your mind, drop us a note. We're at newsroundupwithbill@gmail.com. Anybody checking in, Davey?
Oh, yeah, Bill. Always people are willing to chime in on a Friday.
Absolutely.
So here's one from Sid in Bar Harbor, Maine.
What's on your mind, Sid?
Sid says those fools didn't even make it to the state line before their auto driver crashed out. If it can't make it on the open highway, how's it supposed to function in the city?
Yeah, not a big fan of that autopilot. I've been in a Tesla. I've experimented a little bit with that autopilot, but I've been driving for too long. I am too used to being in command of the vehicle. You got to have your hands on the wheel, your foot on the brake or the gas, and the ride. That's your responsibility, not a computer. And who's up next, Davey?
Yeah, here's one from Nancy in Salt Lake City, Bill.
Okay, Nancy, what's on your mind?
Nancy says, clearly we still have a long way to go before self-driving cars are completely reliable. But it sounds to me like they're already way more reliable than those 2 morons who almost died trying to drive across country.
Yeah, well, I can kind of almost live with the notion of a self-driving car, but when they start tampering with those self-driving motorcycles, that's when I'm going to call it quits, Davey. I'm going to get off the road and start taking a bus everywhere around town. One more, and we got to wrap it up.
There might be self-driving buses soon, Bill.
Well, then I'm done. I'll just go home.
Okay,
I'll work from home.
Here, you'll have to. Here's one from Bitsy in Sun Valley, Idaho, Bill.
Hello, Bitsy. Talk to us. What are you thinking?
She says, why would anyone drop their hard-earned dough on a 5-pound dictionary when they can get the definition for free online?
Yeah, I can't imagine a single soul in the world who doesn't have a computer or an access to a computer. Even if you haven't got a computer, you get to the library, all the computers you want, internet access 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's amazing that they're still in business, that they're still producing a dictionary and still selling it in bookstores. I know you can get the dictionaries online pretty much anywhere, whether it's Merriam-Webster or some other outfit, but good for them. They're still in business after all those years, and look at all the new words they added, 5,000 new words. And just tell me, Davey, be honest with me. Are you as annoyed as I am that they left podcastologist out of the dictionary?
Well, Bill, I can't say for sure that they did leave it out because we haven't seen the dictionary yet. But in the case that they did, I'd be very annoyed.
Well, when it comes out, we'll both have to look it up. And now it's time for us to call it a wrap on the Aloha Friday edition of the Big News Roundup. And before we go, as we do each and every day here on the program, we share with you a very notable quote. And these impactful words come to us today from J. Edgar Hoover, who said, "When morals decline and good men do nothing, evil flourishes." Hoover, by the way, was a legendary American attorney and law enforcement official who served as our nation's first director of the FBI. All in all, he led our country's crime-fighting efforts for nearly 5 decades. This is the part of the story that Davey left out. I don't know why, but when he was done with his law enforcement career, he had a new career. Did you know about his second career, Davey?
No, Bill. What's his second career?
He ran that big vacuum cleaner company. Hoover. You've never heard of Hoover Vacuums?
I don't think it's the same guy, Bill.
Oh, different Hoover?
Yeah, it's a different Hoover. This is J. Edgar Hoover, Bill.
I just assumed he was the vacuum cleaner guy as well. My bad. And now, time for us to bust on out for the weekend. But before we do, don't forget the News Roundup motto, which you should have memorized by now. Ask not what your podcast can do for you. Ask what you can do for your podcast. And all we need you to do is subscribe to the program. That way, you never miss even a single episode. And for now, it looks like our time, it's officially up. So have an awesome day today. Enjoy your weekend as well. Please stay safe, and let's all continue to watch out for one another. With that, Engineer Jamie, please let's dim the lights. Let's fade to back, and we'll see you right back here on Monday afternoon.